Hi folks, welcome to the preparedhomestead.com. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, I kind of called it, but so did many others online. 2024 has come in with a bang. In the last 24 to 48 hours or so, dozens of earthquakes, dozens and dozens of earthquakes in Japan. Of course, the big one, the 7.5, a lot of damage there. Several dozen casualties so far. It was a pretty decent sized earthquake in LA, and then also one in Washington, D.C. area. Protests shut down JFK Airport. There was two planes collided in Japan on an airfield. Interesting. A Coast Guard and a passenger plane. Looks like most of the passengers, or I believe all, were okay, but most of the crew of the Coast Guard plane unfortunately perished. Tensions are continuing to rise in the Middle East. There's always calls for some kind of shortage. Oil prices going up because of the tensions in the Middle East. So probably say goodbye to those nice, cheap, quote unquote, cheap gas prices, at least for a while. And, just all kinds of craziness going on. That's going to probably continue to happen. That's not doom and gloom. That's just reality for us, and it's probably something that should set in with most of you by now, and just learn to accept it and prepare against it. What I wanted to talk about, though, is the Noah mentality. According to Hollywood TV, all the talk over the years about preppers and the ways that Hollywood shows it, and just what you get the general feeling for online is that preppers are, their focus is about saving themselves, right? They want to do what they need to do so that they themselves or their family is taken care of. But in my experience, I have found out that is the exception, not the norm. I think that most people that are preparedness mindset, that are trying to get prepared for whatever's happening or will happen in some sort of way, they really do care about everyone. They really are trying to do it so that they can potentially save others. And I don't mean spiritually save, you know that, but that they can, have something, build something, do something, create something, so that others will also have a chance to survive the impending doom that's happening. And I think that's admirable. That is a big focus of our community here, of doing things within our group, and also to help people outside our group to be more prepared for things that happen all the time, not just, the apocalypse, but, a tornado or an ice storm or whatever. Now, we also have to have some reality into us, a dose of reality, and that not everyone can be saved. Again, I'm not speaking spiritual salvation, so for all of you keyboard warriors, don't get too upset there. Not everyone can be saved, and I think we have to, it's the other side of the coin of reality that we must face. Yes, we should do our best to prepare ourselves, to prepare our families, to prepare our little group of people, whoever we are, whatever you are, and then do things as much as we can to help the people around us. That is, you can watch that over and over again. Virtually all of the popular prepping channels that I can think of are doing some sort of outreach in their community. And I think that's the way it should be. And I think that it shows that most preppers have a big heart. Most of them that I've met, even ones that got a little rough shell around their edges and stuff, they still have a really big heart. And I find that, again, to be true with the general population. There are exceptions, I get it. But I think that that's the norm, not the exception. But we also have to realize that not everybody can be saved. And that's the hard part. Because sometimes those folks that can't be or won't be saved, or refuse to be, are people that we know and we love. They're close to us. They're family members. They're close friends and neighbors, coworkers, people that we have an emotional attachment to and we care about. And we try to wake them up. We try to help them. We try to convince them that they need to do these things, and they refuse to. Sometimes the stranger that we meet at the gas station or the hardware store is easier to convince than our own family. It's unfortunate that that happens, but the reality is that's just how it's going to be. Now, some of you go ahead against your family's wishes. Go ahead and set aside preparations for them because you think that at some point they may come, crawling to you and begging for help. That may happen. Certainly it could. But we also have to prepare ourselves emotionally for the fact that that may never happen. And that's a super unfortunate thing. And none of us, especially if it's people that's really close, maybe it's your children, maybe your parents or other loved ones, none of us want to face the fact that there's just some that aren't going to be saved. They refuse to be. They refuse to jump on your bandwagon. They're okay with letting the government help them. They're okay with running off and rushing off to the FEMA pod camps and getting their forced things in their bodies and stuff. I've actually talked to people that I know, that I've known for years, that I would consider close, that I have some level of emotional tie to, that have said that very kind of same thing, that, oh, no, I'd rather just go off and let them take care of us. They'll take care of us, We'll get our 3 squares, we'll get our fancy internet, we'll get our healthcare taken care of. There are people that truly think that. It's not just that they aren't prepared and that they don't know what to do. Is their contingency plan is that the government will jump in and is that they will be taken care of by FEMA and all of them. You may be able to change their opinion at some point. It's quite possible. But I think part of our psychological preparedness is that we have to psychologically prepare for the fact that some of the people that we love and that are close to us just aren't ever going to open their eyes to what's going on. And that's a big, unfortunate thing. I would say, and I'm just reading between the lines and speculating, but I would say that was the same case with Noah. You have to realize that, because a lot of times this part of the story that's not really told isn't talked about. Yes, his wife and children got on the ark with him, but how many other family members and friends and people that he loved, people that were close to him, were not on that ark? Dozens, hundreds. I mean, these people lived a long time and had large families, so it could have even been thousands of people that would have been close family members, and they were, at that time, most families all stayed in a region, so all of his cousins and uncles and aunts and second cousins, and they would have all lived in a general area, most likely. And he had to sit in that ark in safety, knowing that his friends and family, his loved ones, the people that he cared for, were outside dying. It's quite possible that it may come to that point with us. Even though it may not be necessarily death, it just could be that we watch them suffer. And we can do what we think we can, but in the end, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And it may end up being that way. And this is a sad part of it. This is something that I'm sure most of you in the back of your minds have thought about. What am I going to do if my son or my daughter and their children, my grandchildren, if they don't wake up to all of this, if they don't see that things are getting worse and things fall apart? Maybe they're living in the city, maybe they're living in a not great neighborhood, a place that is probably going to be one of those that really fall apart. And there's no food, and there's, maybe social services, utilities, all that kind of stuff could be lost, or, just sheer violence. None of us want to think about this. We don't want to dwell on this thought very long. But I think at least on some level, it is good that we at least open our minds up to this. Because what it could happen is that, you and your family and your community, your tribe has prepared. And then it all really starts falling apart, and people that you love outside of your tribe, they fall into all of this stuff. They go get their mark. They go run off to their little concentration camps, whatever it is. violence erupts in their area and you don't even know what's happened to them. You've lost communication. It's going to hurt. And there's no way to completely prepare for that level of shock and pain or unknown. But I think we at least need to come to grips with that as best as we can. Because I would say that most of you listening are in this situation. Most of you watching and listening to this have friends, family, loved ones that are on the other side. They're on the other side and they're not going to wake up. They're probably not ever going to wake up. They might. I don't want to sound pessimistic. I'm just trying to be realistic. And we can do everything we can. We can hope and pray that if it gets that bad, they'll just show up and at least they'll be safe with you. Even at the last minute, they might wake up and realize and then call you and say, hey, what do I need to do? There's all these possibilities and hopefully, and many people will go down that path, but we have to understand that there's going to be some that will not. And as sad as it is, as depressing as this topic is, I think that we should start mentally preparing for the fact that some of our loved ones are never going to wake up. Now, this doesn't mean that the end result for them will be death. It could be, but most likely a lot of people, the end result is just going to be them getting caught up in the Big Brother New World Order system. And in the end, that could also lead to a spiritual death if it hasn't already. And so, yes, there's a very painful side to this. But we have to also, again, remember that Noah went through the same thing. I mean, they were outside those ark doors, wailing, crying, begging to be let in. And he couldn't do it. And it had to be heart-wrenching for him and his family to sit inside there, knowing that they would be saved, while people that they loved dearly, that they grew up with, that their children played together, that they were related to, they were perishing outside those walls of that boat. And it's quite possible, whether it's to that extreme or not, even if it's just figuratively speaking, it's quite possible that many, if not most all of us, will experience watching loved ones and family members perish. Again, maybe not through death, but maybe just through, succumbing to this globalist evil system completely, being completely taken over by them. And we have to prepare for that psychologically, because if we don't start at least somehow, I mean, you're never going to completely be prepared mentally for this kind of stuff, but as much as you can, if we don't, it could cause us to kind of fall apart, lose it. And that's something we can't do. We absolutely cannot do, because you have family members, you have your tribe, your community that's depending on you. And so when things fall apart and you realize that there are loved ones outside that ark door that's just not going to make it, you can't allow yourself to lose it and to just fall apart, because there's too many people that are there in the ark with you that are depending on you. And so not everybody can be saved. Not everybody will in this whole ordeal. Everything that we're seeing, look at the, what's happened in the last 3 or 4 years with the pokey poke. Not everyone could be convinced of it, and some people, things happen to them. And this is the reality of it. And I encourage you to pray about it. I encourage you to think about it, and to, as best as a person possibly can, develop some type of preparedness, for this, so that it doesn't cause you to completely fall apart. It's going to shake you. Yeah, sure. It's probably shaking most of you now that are dealing with it, that's watching family members, loved ones, go astray spiritually and physically. But we have to do the best that we can, continue to pray for them, continue to try to win them over, bring them in, but also mentally prepare for the time that they just completely have walked away, and they're not coming back to the ark. They're not coming in. They're not going to join, and the ark doors are closing. This is a sad reality to what's going on. And you know, a lot of times we want to just focus on the fun stuff or the exciting stuff or the dramatic stuff. This is none of those things, but it is a very serious topic, and it's something that we should all, in our minds and in our hearts, plan for. Folks, we need to be getting our houses in order and preparing ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.